Laura Bennett never put stock in omens, bad VY Bess, or anything that couldn't be measured in a lab. But when she moved into a sleepy suburban cul-de-sac in late October, that tidy, rational world VYEW of hers started to fray at the edges. The neighborhood was picture-perfect. Modest mid-century homes with neat lawns, old oaks casting dappled shade over quiet sidewalks, and just enough of a slope to her lot to catch the sun's glow well into the evening. That light was what sealed the deal. After decades of city clamor and dim lecture halls, Laura craved space, silence, and control. She wasn't fleeing anything, despite what people assumed when they heard "fresh start." At 55, she was just done answering to anyone but herself. After teaching biology at a community college for 18 years, wrangling screen-addicted students, and appeasing number-crunching deans, Laura took early retirement. She had SAVYNGS, a side gig consulting online, and a plan, a sturdy, if dated, house with a sprawling backyard that bled into a ribbon of woods. Come spring, she'd install solar panels, build a greenhouse, maybe even keep bees if she could source the hives. For now, she cleared ivy, mapped out her plants, and sipped homemade chamomile tea bitter as her mood some dace in the back deck. Her life was deliberate. No frills, no grand quest for meaning. She wanted to work with her hands, think her thoughts, and be left the hell alone. Her tools were labeled, her coffee measured to the gram, her solitude a hard-earned shield. 2 days after she moved in, that shield cracked. Margaret Voss showed up on her porch, clutching a tray of store-bought muffins and wearing a garish floral dress that strained at the seams. Margaret was pushing 65, her lipstick a loud magenta that bled into the lines around her mouth, her voice teetering between a laugh and a scold. She didn't knock, just sang out, "It's just me, dear," through the screen door. Before Laura could blink, Margaret was inside, prattling about the flooring, the fresh paint, the bare windows, her words a relentless, cheery invasion. Laura wasn't rude by nature. She flashed a tight smile, thanked her for the muffins, and dropped hints about unpacking to nudge her out. But Margaret didn't do hints. She loitered, probing about Laura's job, her love life, and then, out of nowhere, raccoons. "They're crafty around here," she said, eyes glinting. "I've seen one pop my compost bin open like it was picking a lock. Don't leave scraps, I'll not even tea bags. They'll take it as a welcome mat." Laura nodded, bored. Then Margaret leaned in. "You know what keeps them away? Gasoline. Just a splash along your yard every few weeks. The smell says you mean business. My grandpa swore by it." She tapped her temple, grinning. "Old tricks beat Google any day." Laura's smile stiffened. She mentally swore off eating Margaret's muffins and hoped that was the end of it. But Margaret had a way of filling a room. Not just with her size, though. She moved like she could elbow the walls aside, but with her presence, her loud gestures, her habit of planting herself in doorways like she was appraising the place. It wasn't mean, just suffocating. When she finally left, her "I'll check on you soon" sounded more like a threat than a promise. The neighborhood was quiet otherwise. An old guy walked his lab at 7:30 sharp every morning. A kid practiced skateboard tricks down the street. No barking dogs, no roaring mowers, just the soft creak of the house settling. Laura thought she'd found her haven. Then she started smelling gasoline. It was faint at first, a sharp whiff under the pine and wet leaves gone by noon. She chalked it up to a neighbor's lawnmower or a leaky chainsaw. But it came back, stronger, closer. One morning, she stepped outside and gagged. The stench was thick, clinging to the air like fog. She traced along her property, past the shed, to a dark, wet line in the dirt by the fence. Not a puddle, not a spill, just a deliberate streak of fuel. She dipped a gloved finger, sniffed, and winced. Gasoline fresh. Laura didn't have proof, but she didn't need it. Through a gap in the hedge, she saw Margaret, crouched in her floral bulk, pouring something from a plastic jug by a tree. When Margaret spotted her, she waved, all teeth. "Just guarding the perimeter, hon. Those raccoons are bold-saw tracks by your shed." Laura didn't wave back. That afternoon, she called the city's NVY environmental hotline, reported illegal dumping, and requested an inspection. The overworked clerk promised to follow up in a week, maybe 2, and suggested photos for EVY Denke. Laura set up a trail cam by the fence. Not paranoia, just pragmatism. 3 nights later, she found a glass lantern on her back step, its wick charred, the air faintly warm. No note, no explanation, just a whisper of fire near a house that reeked of fuel. Laura lifted it with tongs, dropped it in a metal bucket, and stood frozen in her kitchen, her brain connecting dots she didn't want to see. She called the non-emergency police line. The young officer who showed up was polite but skeptical, jotting notes as she explained the gasoline, the lantern, the Yunan VY Ted neighbor. Unless she lights a match or trespasses, it's not a crime, he said. Not yet. Those words echoed like a warning shot. The next morning, the air was clean, crisp with damp leaves. Laura almost conned VY and said herself it was over. Then she saw it. A scorched raccoon paw, blackened and shriveled, placed like a trophy on her back step. The smell hit next, burnt fur and gasoline, a sickening mix that turned her stomach. She didn't scream. She locked the door, called animal control, and reported a mutilated animal part. The woman on the line wasn't shocked. "Third call like this in your area," she said. "Burned remains, weird stuff near houses." Laura's compost bin vanished that same day, Leah VYing only a square patch of dirt and some carrot peels. At midnight, she caught Margaret standing across the street, arms crossed, staring at her house, her face unreadable in the dim streetlight. A typed note appeared under her doormat soon after. "You can call all the agencies you want. They won't stop what's coming." Laura didn't cry. She documented photos, call logs, soil samples. She installed motion lights, changed her locks, and backed up her phone to 2 clouds. A city inspector finally came, took samples, and shrugged. "No VY Deo, no citation," he said. Laura bit back her frustration and posted the orange flammable hazard sign he gave her where Margaret could miss it. Then Margaret knocked again, holding a Tupperware of peach cobbler, her smile too wide. "Thought you'd like something sweet after all those inspectors," she cooed. "Must be tough, all this trouble." Laura didn't touch the dish. "Stay off my property," she said, voice flat. Margaret's eyes flickered. "That's not neighborly. People talk, you know. You're not as alone as you think." She leaned closer. "It's not a threat, hon. It's a forecast." Laura shut the door, gloved up, and tossed the cobbler in a garbage bag. Sleep stopped coming easily. Laura woke at every creak, checked every camera. One night, at 3 a.m., she saw Margaret's front door wide open, Margaret standing there in a housecoat, staring at Laura's house. They locked eyes for minutes before Margaret turned away. Then the smell returned, sharper, thicker. Laura found a trench along her fence, soaked with gasoline, splattered on posts, pooling in the dirt. It stopped 5 feet from her shed. Her hands shook not from fear, but from the clarity of intent. She called the fire department. 2 engines rolled up, lights flashing. The fire marshal walked the trench, his face grim. "This is no accident. Someone's planning a fire." He filed a report, hosed the area, and left a fire watch sign. Laura nailed it to the fence, a silent challenge. That night, she hired Claire Novak, a lawyer who knew harassment cases. Claire was sharp, no nonsense, and had Laura lay out every detail. The gasoline, the paw, the lantern, the note, the footage of a figure unmistakably Margaret patrolling her fence at 2 a.m. with a jug. "Do you want a restraining order, or do you want this done?" Claire asked. Laura's answer was steel. "I want it stopped legally now." Claire drafted a cease and desist letter and filed for an emergency protective order. Days later, a box appeared at Laura's gate, a charred bird inside, with a note, "Burned but free." Claire pushed the court harder. The judge granted the order, barring Margaret from coming near Laura's property. Margaret's response? Dozens of mirrored plastic squares zip-tied to Laura's fence, angled to blind her yard with reflected light. Then a zoning complaint accused Laura of running an illegal chemical lab. The inspector grilled her, uncon VY, and said by her permits and receipts. Her property stayed on a watch list. Her mail started RE VYing torn. One note reading, "This is how things go missing." Laura rerouted her mail to a P.O. box, kept silent, kept building her case. Then one night, a clatter woke her. A hiss followed. She checked her cameras and saw it. A mason jar by the fence, rags stuffed in its mouth, matches scattered nearby. A Molotov cocktail, unlit but ready. She called 911, grabbed her extinguisher, and waited, heart pounding, until police bagged the EVY Denke. No prints, no clear footage. This is attempted arson, the officer said. But we need a suspect. Margaret vanished for 2 days. Then a note appeared. I told you it was a forecast, and storms don't always come with warning. Laura didn't sleep. She sat up, watching camera feeds, the note glaring from her table. Margaret's car returned, parked crookedly. A strange man dropped off a duffel bag at her house, then left. Laura sent the footage to Claire, who alerted the police. At 4:26 a.m., glass shattered. Smoke curled from Laura's shed. Her camera caught Margaret, jug in hand, fleeing toward the fence. Laura grabbed her extinguisher, doused the burning rags inside, and called 911. Fire trucks and cruisers flooded the street. Neighbors gawked. Laura pointed to the fence. She went that way. It's on tape. Police found Margaret in her Lee VYing room. TV on low, gas jug on her counter. She didn't fight the cuffs, just asked, did she get out? The charges piled up. Attempted arson, trespassing, endangerment. Bail was denied. Claire secured a permanent injunction. Margaret was sent for psychiatric evaluation, then institutionalized. Her house went dark, taped off, foreclosed. Reporters came, but Laura stayed silent. Neighbors whispered, then softened. One brought her planters, saying, you shouldn't have gone through that alone. Laura slept in her bed again, put the fire poker away, kept her cameras rolling. She let the garden gnome Margaret left stay, its cracked smile fading in the sooner reminder that threats can rot from within. She started keeping bees, naming the Queen Solace, a quiet claim to her space. The days grew long, the flowers bloomed, and one morning, Laura stepped barefoot onto the dew-soaked grass, the weight of VY Gilance lighter, though never gone. Was Margaret a calculated predator or a woman unhinged by her own demons? Should Laura have confronted her sooner, or was her restraint what saved her? Could the neighbors have stepped in, or were they right to stay out of the fire? What would you have done, fought back, fled, or built a fortress like Laura? Share your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that make you question where the real danger lies.